Thank you for coming to tonight's screening of My Friends, the Comedians. Please ensure that you have your cell phone silenced. Enjoy the show.
Hello, fellow joke enthusiasts, comedy connoisseurs, and champions of chuckle. Welcome back to the show. If you're new here, my name is Jacob Marscola, and this is My Friends the Comedians, a podcast where I've sat down with friends and discussed the mysterious, delirious, and unserious realm of comedy. Welcome to the Season 1 finale of this show, and I'd like to just start immediately so I don't forget. Thank you for listening if you have been. Thank you for listening if you are right now. And thank you for listening if you choose to in the future, which this show does have a future if I have anything to say about it. But this is the Season 1 finale, and I'm going to be giving you listeners what you've definitely not been asking for, which is about half an hour of me talking to no one else. You've heard my voice plenty of times in the show, and now you just got to sit through one more half hour of only me. I have to admit out loud and just be so transparent that I have recorded this final episode probably 3 different times before this fourth take of trying to record it. I mentioned sometime earlier in season 1 that I was going to do a thing where I interview myself, and I did do that. I did for about 45 minutes sit down and pretend to be 2 different people. And that did not play very well, and I didn't feel like editing that, and it just would have been very annoying to listen to. So then I tried to sit down again, and I was a little sick, and then I just tried to a third time before this fourth and final recording, and I don't know. I think what I'm realizing, I've done this show with, if I'm correct, I believe 17 guests. And 17 times I've gotten to do an hour of recording with someone across from me, and I get to play off of them, and I get to ask them questions. Also, yeah, I guess I'll address now. This will be a very different episode than in previous. I'm not going to walk you through my comedy journey, at least as in detail as we have in the past, because you've heard enough about me in the past 17 episodes where you should at least have an idea as to what my whole deal is, and I probably in the future of the show will say more about it. But yeah, this is the final and 18th episode of Season 1 of My Friends the Comedians. I'm really glad to have actually finished Season 1. I was a little busy there for a while, and procrastination is just such a lovely drug, and you can't stop taking it. So I eventually got back to editing the rest of the show, and I'm finishing up the last bit of production needed right now. I'm going to take my headphones off because there's no point in me wearing them because I can't hear anything. I don't know why, but the headphones I'm using just don't work. But what I want to do, at least for the next 25 to 30 minutes, is just kind of talk about how fun the show was. You know, I've just recently sort of, in preparation for this final episode, listened to most, if not all, of the episodes that I have released and been releasing in the past few weeks. So just kind of would give my perspective on how fun it's been to make the show. But I guess in general, if you at this point either haven't been paying attention to my parts of the show or are just starting to listen now, my name is Jacob Marscola, and I really enjoy talking to funny people. I really enjoy I enjoy talking to people about comedy. I enjoy consuming comedy. I enjoy performing on stage. More specifically in my life right now, I really only enjoy performing improv, but I've done stand-up and I've done sketch stuff in the past, and I've made sketches, which is something I'd want to get back to. My sort of, as I've said in the entirety of this season, which has always made me cringe, but my comedy journey, I'd say probably would start sometime in I don't know. I did some performance in a musical theater when I was in middle school, but it wasn't in any way, shape, or form comedy. I do have a memory of watching America's Got Talent when I was in 4th grade, and there was one stand-up comedian, and it was one of the first few stand-up comedians that made it as far as they did. And then we had like a talent show day in fourth grade, and I decided that I wanted to write stand up. And so I do remember writing jokes about. I think I was writing a joke about little kids. At this point, I was in fourth grade, and I was like, little kid, like toddlers. They're so small. It's such a weird perspective because I was writing from like an older person perspective is what I was trying to do. And I wrote a joke about like how kids are just like super hyperactive at like playgrounds or something. I don't remember anything much else about it, and I don't remember if it was good. But that's as I remember now, my first exposure with attempting to do comedy, and that was just for fun and because I thought it was fun and I saw it on TV. But aside from that, I'd say just a lot of watching stand-up specials on Netflix, which was basically all of high school for me. I really got into watching like a shit ton of Jim Gaffigan, and I started to expand to I heard about Bo Burnham, and I enjoyed watching a lot of like Ronnie Chang a little bit, and Eliza Schlesinger, a lot of these stand-ups. So a lot of my introduction to comedy was stand-up comedy, which I feel like is probably normal for a lot of people. I had just recently listened to the first ever episode of My Friends the Comedians, and Owen said something that kind of makes this make a little more sense. But stand-up is just, I think, the more well-known form of comedy, and it's also a little more palatable in some way. Jokes are being said to you, and you're intended to laugh, as opposed to improv where you don't really know what's going to happen and you're just kind of hoping that they come up with something funny. So it's crazy, and I think about that because a lot of my first interaction with comedy was stand-up related. And then the minute I hit college, I joined this little club called Ridiculum. You might have heard about it if you've listened to even one episode or even 1 minute of one episode of my show. But Ridiculum was great. As a person in general, and being in college, I needed to find a space because I just was not super happy in like the first month or so, and really getting involved with Ridiculum after a few months into college was super helpful, and it laid a lot of groundwork for me that I couldn't see then but can see now, and super appreciative of it. It's why for 17, I guess you could say 16, because one of the episodes wasn't with a Ridiculum member. But it's why for so long in the show, it's all I've wanted to talk about is the people I did comedy with and the club that I got to do it in, because it's the reason I wanted to make a show. It's the only reason I had an outlet to. I don't think if there had been no comedy club on my campus, I don't think I would have had the ambition to make one. I had no intention of joining a comedy club. I had no intention of in any way performing comedy. And I had no initial intention to start a comedy podcast. But because of Ridiculum, I got to do all these fun things, and it opened up a part of my life that I didn't know was going to exist. So I'm very, very thankful for anyone that was ever a part of Ridiculum. And it's the reason that I wanted to and did, but still need to bring a lot of them onto this show to talk about how it impacted them and what it's done for their life, if it's in any way affected their career plans. And I love hearing about that, especially when it's my friends, because I can talk to my friends. I know it doesn't seem like it now, because at this point we're close to 10 minutes into the show, but I'm having a really hard time not talking to one of my friends that's across from me. It's very, very strange. But I did Ridiculum. I found that I enjoyed improv pretty immediately, and stand-up was a thing that I didn't enjoy immediately, but I wanted to, and then I did at some point. And then at some point, I stopped enjoying it as much, just because writing it was really hard to, I don't know, it was hard for me to commit to it the way that, like, I don't know, Kevin or Noel or literally anyone else in the club found the way that they were able to. I'd lost interest in it. I did recently watch my last stand-up set, though, and I enjoyed it more than I thought I did. But I am retired from the art, and I will only be looking to like comedy sketches or improv in the future. But I'm super glad to have done everything I've done with Ridiculum. As is part of my comedy journey, we fast forward to senior year, where I decided to start this show, My Friends the Comedians. And specifically the reason I wanted to is, one, I had done a podcast previously during college, one semester. I don't know if you've ever heard about it. Probably not. But it's a thing I did with two-time guest on season 1, Andrew Mister. We've mentioned it a few times. And just the idea of a podcast I wanted to do again because I just really enjoy it. And I think it's a fun way to just kind of let your thoughts flow. And I know literally everyone on earth has a podcast, but I just did it because I wanted to have fun. I wasn't like, people need to hear what I think. But that, and then I started listening to this podcast called Yes Also. It is hosted by Susie Barrett, who is, she's amazing. She's an improviser. She's a comedian overall. She's hit many different improvs. Look up Yes Also as a podcast. I pause this show right now and actually go listen to some episodes of Yes Also. I guarantee you that if you're listening to this show, which is mainly my friends at the moment, you probably will recognize a name of one of her guests on her show. But her show was essentially just this. This show is essentially just a copy of Yes Also. I started listening to that, and I thought it'd be really fun. And so senior year started, and it was in the previous summer. I started listening to Yes Also, and I was like, I want to do this. But I obviously don't have access to all of these very, very famous comedians and people who have run through the comedy circuit multiple times. But I knew I had friends that I was doing comedy with. I knew I had friends that were in my comedy club that had graduated from the comedy club, friends that had just started in the comedy club. And I was like, this is great. I have these people, and I have an ability to talk for a long time with these people. And so I wanted to do that, and I did, and you're listening, and this is getting very meta because we're caught up, and now it's this episode. But I've had a lot of fun doing this show, genuinely, and not just because I get to talk about the thing that I'm a nerd about, which that's a big thing. It's a big reason, but it's not just because of that. It's because I have really enjoyed, I feel like, as well as I know a lot of the people that have been on the show this season, I feel like I still somehow learn things about them. Something that I kind of arrogantly didn't think would be possible. I recorded the first episode with Owen, and when I finished it, I was excited, but I do remember having this feeling like, oh, this show is just going to be me hearing things I've already heard. I'm just going to be having a conversation that's essentially the same thing, except for my interview with Dr. JP. It's going to be essentially the same thing over and over again. And I don't know what the listener perspective is, but I've listened and re-listened to all of season 1 of this show, and I feel like that didn't happen, which is good for me. I was scared that was something that was going to happen, that it was just going to be recycling the same story over and over again. There was some overlap, but it wasn't to the point of it being repetitive and annoying, at least as far as my perspective goes. As the host, I feel like I tried as best I could to not talk, although listen, guys, I'm just finish up the thought before I do the next thought. I tried my best not to speak, and so hearing when a lot of the guests would speak, I would be hearing new stories and new things that I didn't know about them, new perspectives on why they joined or why they didn't join so soon, how they feel about comedy. I got to talk to all of these fun, amazing people that I am friends with that are hilarious about this thing that we both enjoy. I don't know if you couldn't hear through the audio. I was rolling my eyes as I mentioned. I tried not to talk a lot. Man, guys, I have edited my voice and made highlights and made reels for Instagram and YouTube so many times, and especially when you are captioning the things that you are saying and the things that a guest is saying, you realize how much you talk. And I know that it's my show, but I'm an interviewer, and I could probably use some improvement in season 2. I feel like I talk a shit ton to the point where it's like, we came to listen to the other person here. I know it's not entirely true, and it's more so just like my internal thoughts, but that's just, if I were to complain as a listener about my friends the comedians, I would say that maybe the host needs to just work on his interview game, which I will, which I'm excited to whenever season 2 comes rolling around. I'm excited to get the chance to improve upon the first season. But yeah, so I want to go through this maybe is ill-advised, because I'm probably going to find that you know what, never mind. I am going to kill that idea. I was about to go through every episode and try to like highlight certain parts of them, but I I pictured a future that was very likely to happen where I was going to forget what happened in some of these episodes, and then that would be dry. So we're not going to do that. I don't know. Just in general, I enjoyed doing this show because it gave me the chance to do something creative. Again, not that I'm never out of things creative to do. So, some may say it was ill-advised to start another podcast because it is just taking up my time for no reason, or like, I don't know. I mean, there was benefit, but no like tangible benefit at all. I was just giving myself work on a thing that I liked for the sake of doing it, which is fine. In terms of like projects and stuff, I'm trying to teach myself to slow down and not do as many things, which, man, y'all, that's hard to learn. that's hard to not do when you have a brain that works the way that mine does, where I just have to keep doing stuff. But when season 1 wraps up, I am stepping back, taking a break. I definitely won't be doing a season 2 for a little bit, and that's also because of resources. I mean, I started this season and recorded every episode except for this one currently in a very reliable recording space that I knew how to get to, and almost everyone could get themselves to that space as well to record. So we'll see. Season 2 might be limited just because of the resources that I have, but I am sitting right now in a pretty nice recording space. Support public libraries. They're the reason that you can just come and book a space for free and just use their equipment for no reason. Thank you, public libraries. So one thing I did want to mention is a small thing, but I was listening to the episode that I recorded with Owen, the first episode. One consistent thing across all of these episodes has been talking about coffee table books. I've got Sam Wasson's, or Wasson. I'm sorry, Sam. I don't know how to say your last name. I've got Improv Nation, How He Made a Great American Art in front of me right now. Have not read it still. And I'm going to forgive myself on that because, man, I've been busy. But it's a book that I think between now and whenever I start the podcast up again, I want to read and finish. And it's a bulky book. I haven't read a book this bulky in a while. But I've got it here. And I also just wanted to bring up the topic of it because I re-listened to episode 1, which I hadn't done in a while. And that question really just came out of nowhere. It wasn't a thing that I had planned to be on the show. It wasn't something that I thought was going to be a recurring thing, and I was excited to find it when I did. You can listen back and you can tell that I got excited that I found like a recurring bit, because I was really just scared of what the show was, or specifically wasn't going to be, the inconsistencies that were going to maybe occur, and how, I don't know, entertaining or not entertaining it could have been. But so I was excited. I think Owen and I were just chatting, and I don't remember what I said right now, but I just mentioned that if I was a coffee table book, I would be Improv Nation, How I Made a Great American Art. And I think I am going to finish it before season 2 comes rolling around. So I don't know if I'm going to have to come up with a new coffee table book. I could probably keep the same one, but I will have nixed one of the aspects of it that relates to me, which is the fact that I don't really like to read books. I could still not like to read books and finish the book. Who knows? And that's also one small thing that I've really enjoyed adding to this show, which is hearing from my friends who are comedians about something that isn't necessarily comedic, like it can be, and it has been. You know, there's been a few comedy books mentioned, but I am excited to have a part of the show that isn't just like fully dominated by comedy. And that's also a kind of a large scale thing that I wasn't expecting to come of the show, which is that I don't know, it wasn't always about comedy, which I'm realizing now that I'm okay with, and that wasn't ever the intention to steer clear or to stay on track or anything. It just kind of became what it was. I just talked to my friends. I mean, that's what happens when you talk to your friends about anything. You know, there's a goal of talking about comedy and their comedy journey and how they feel about certain aspects of it. But you're talking with your friends for an hour. At some point, you're just going to veer off and talk about something else. And I loved that part of the show. It was Anytime I felt like I was genuinely sitting down just talking to my friend as a friend and not as like an interviewer or part of a show, even though the interviewing parts are really fun too. The parts where I just got interpersonal and got to laugh and chuckle and just have a good time with my friends is great. And that's also why I think I wanted to make the podcast, is because it's given me an excuse to have conversations with like people I graduated with, people that graduated before me that I hadn't really spoken to in a little bit since they graduated. It's given me the excuse to just talk to those people. And it's so fun to talk to those people. I'm jealous of anyone who's just listening, because I got to talk with them, and it was so fun to do so. I genuinely want to say thank you. Yeah, sure, this is cheesy, but I want to say thank you to Owen Hewitt, to Kevin Keane, to Noel B. Doherty, to Siobhan Dillon, to Patrick Lyons, to Frank Samutis III, to Andrew Mister, to Charlie Gable, to Jack Clemens, to Miguel Badia, to Julia Gasarowski, to Kelechi Onibo, to Justin Grohl, to John Paul Spiro, to Gianna Abbas, and to Nate DeFulvio. Thank you for being guests on this first season of My Friends the Comedians. I don't know what the plan is. There's a chance that you hear from them again in season 2. But I'm going to really try to get some new guests and branch out, because I've still got friends who are comedians that I have not spoken to. And it is my goal to speak to them at some point. And I can guarantee you, I can genuinely guarantee you guys that are listening, it will be a treat when I get the chance to talk to them. So look out for that when it comes around. We're wrapping up here a little bit, but one thing I did want to bring back and tie around was the idea of talking with these funny people. I loved getting the chance to... One thing is, all these friends that I have, I knew that they were funny. I've known that they were funny. I've known the types of ways that they were funny. But like I said earlier, I somehow discovered new ways of enjoying their company, new ways of enjoying the conversations that they are able to have with me about this thing or about other things. When you talk to people that are, I guess, specifically tied to and really passionate in the realm of comedy, I don't know if this is unique to talking to comedians or anything, so I'm not going to make any general statements about it. But something that I did notice was that when talking to them about this thing that they're so passionate about, they can't stop. And I know that maybe that isn't as indicative with some other episodes, and I'm not saying that like, oh, all my guests couldn't stop talking, but like, and it genuinely felt like at the end of every recording, it felt like I could, and it felt like they could keep talking about this thing that we were talking about, because it doesn't get boring, because it's this really fun thing that we get to do, or have just been touched by in some way. And in some beautiful and amazing way, I've built a rapport with all 17 of these people where I could have kept talking. we all, both of us could have kept talking, and it would have been stuff that we really enjoy, and it would have been stuff that I'd consider really good podcast material. And that isn't to say that, oh man, there's a tragedy of this show that I didn't get to talk enough with these people. I think that pocket of time of 1 hour being not enough to talk what I probably could say is not even a fraction of what I'd like to talk about with these people, is just indicative of what I think being friends with people who work in this kind of area or play in this kind of area does. It just makes it so that you can't help but want to keep talking to them. And it's not always even like funny conversations. It's talking about like how comedy works with like philosophy, or how comedy works on like a technical aspect, or what it does for your interpersonal skills. I genuinely, I know that it sounds stupid and, I don't know, a little weird to say. I wasn't expecting to hear all these crazy things. I was talking to people about their personal experience with comedy. That was likely to come up. But I was so genuinely surprised and delighted by everything that came up, and the variety of what came up. And I also, I'm so hesitant to leave this show on a note without addressing the fact that I really want to make sure that it doesn't seem like, or that at least I'm not let you know that I'm not trying to just hype up my show. That is not what this whole kind of ending bit is for. I genuinely, it's one, to thank the people that came onto this show, because otherwise this would just be me talking, and man, you've gotten tired of that at this point in the episode. But also just because I was just, it felt like an experiment. I won't lie. It felt like I did a new kind of podcast. I've never done a thing that I've hosted just alone, and that was fully mine. It was the first project that I had taken on that I did literally everything for, which was such a learning experience, which I was so thankful to have. But specifically, the chance to sit down with my friends and have this different kind of dynamic with conversations that we've had with each other in the past. But because of the specific environment and because of the show being the way that it was, I got to have new conversations with these people. I got to have, I feel like, conversations that I would have never had because of the specific environment that it was in. I got stuff out of my friends, and they even got some stuff out of me that I feel like we weren't expecting. And I want to just show appreciation for that and really reiterate that I am not hyping up My Friends the Comedians as a kick-ass show. Season 1 was high octane and we loved it. Yeah. I am just saying that I appreciated what the show let me do in this first season. So I'm going to say that that's probably the end of this episode. You get a lot less time with me, which I prefer, because, man, I don't know what else I could talk about. I feel like let's pair this and then the times that I spoke in the past 17 episodes in there. You probably have like three episodes worth of My Friends the Comedians of just Jacob talking. So that should be enough for anyone that really does enjoy hearing my voice. Couldn't imagine it's all of you. But thank you so much for listening. Also, one thing, before I do my send-off, I want to thank the voice that you hear at the beginning of every episode. That's my good friend Owen Hewitt. He came up with that intro on the spot right before we recorded the very first episode of this show, and I haven't thanked him at the end of every episode. I doubt that he cares super much, but I just want to say thank you. It's a fun little intro. I've always wanted to do a show that has like a nice kind of audio bit that you're looking forward to at the beginning of every show. So thank you, Owen, for coming up with that on the spot and being oh man, what's it called when they the announcements before the musical starts? It's kind of like that. I can't. Man, it was going so smooth. Sorry, Owen. That wasn't, you know what I mean. Thanks for being that guy for the show. But thank you so much. I want to also thank once again, and for the final time in season 1, Andrew Mister for the use of this podcast theme song, Cruisin'. Andrew Mister does all sorts of other music. Just look up his name, Andrew Mister, on Spotify or wherever you listen to your music. Just go ahead and do that. And there's some cool stuff, but it's how I found and know about the theme song for this show. So thank you so much. And thank you again to the 17 guests that I mentioned a little bit ago. And thank you, of course, to you. Anyone listening, you're the reason that I do this, is so someone can hear people talk about this stuff. I know that I have friends that just enjoy listening to this, and I enjoy doing it. So it's for you, it's for me, it's for the guests. That's going to do it for season 1 of My Friends the Comedians. My name is Jacob Marscola, and as always, I'm reminding you to please laugh, and laugh especially when it's funny.
And cruising all around, memorizing the highways in our